A question on lots of people's minds playing Helldivers 2 is, how do I get more stuff? Because in order to expand and upgrade your arsenal and gear, you need to collect and earn different resources. In this video I'm going to provide you with a complete breakdown of super credits, medals and requisition points, their uses, where to find them and how to best farm them. It doesn't matter whether you're a new or experienced player, this guide will be applicable to all player levels. Without further ado, Helldivers to Hellpods, let's dive in. List of in-game currencies. You can get an overview of your resource stock by opening up the ship management menu aboard your destroyer. Currently, these are all the different resources and currencies in the game. Requisition points, super credits, medals and the samples, which I cover in a dedicated video. Now these can all be collected by simply playing the game. The only resources that can be purchased are the super credits, but I'll get into that later on. Now there are some general rules that apply to all resources that are worthwhile knowing, especially since the tutorial never mentions them. Resources are shared. When you pick up any of these resources during a mission, then everyone gets the same amount of whatever you've just found. Looking at Reddit, some folks are still under the impression that they need to accuse others of stealing samples. And I myself still see people trying to beat each other to POIs or rushing into the two-man door bunker just to be first, but there's no need for that. After I find 2 medals, then it's just like Oprah. You get 2 medals, you get 2 medals, everybody gets 2 medals. Resources are added instantly. Any resources you find will be added to your stock straight away. That's why you won't see the total of your mission's super credits or medals findings listed at the debrief. They've already been added to your account in real time during the mission as you collected them. All resources have a cap, a maximum amount that you can have, so be sure to spend yours in time to not waste any. I will share the cap for every resource as we go over them. Now let's look at every resource individually. Super credits. Super credits can be used for 2 things. Unlocking war bonds and purchasing offers from the superstore in the acquisition center. They don't seem to have a cap so far, with players having accumulated thousands of credits, which makes sense since they can be bought with real money. And now it'd be weird if you'd be just below the cap, spend 20 bucks on credits only for 90% of that to go to waste because you've capped. Acquisition. There's roughly 2 ways to gather super credits. The first is from war bonds. The first 2 war bonds in the game, Helldivers Mobilize and Steel Veterans, both contain a number of super credits in them in the form of several badges to be unlocked using medals. The second way is by gathering them from points of interest or POIs. Farming. When it comes to collecting super credits, there are 2 main approaches, the difference being how hardcore you want to go. Method 1, the completionist approach. The first method is if you want to gather them whilst also going for maximum XP, collecting medals and gathering samples. This will be the most effective at trivial, easy and medium difficulties. Any higher and you will just lose time fighting patrols and breaches. Just make sure you explore the map and find all POIs before completing the primary objective. That way you should be able to get at least 50 super credits per hour, how much you find per mission being up to Super Earth's RNG department. Method 2, hardcore grind mode. The second is when you really want to grind them out. The easiest approach here is to run trivial missions and again scout the entire map, but, and this is where this method turns into a speed grind, as soon as you've explored all POIs, you abandon the mission and get back to your ship. This way you skip the time otherwise lost waiting for extraction and looking at transition screens. This method can net you upwards of 150 super credits per hour or even more than 200 if you're really pushing it. Medals. Medals are used to unlock new items and gear from your war bonds, making medals a highly sought after resource. To preview or calculate how many medals you need in order to unlock a certain item, go to your warbond by pressing R and then open the warbonds you have access to. Medals cap at 250 pieces, so make sure to spend some before you reach this limit. Acquisition. Just like super credits and requisition points, medals can be found at POIs. In addition, medals will be rewarded for completing missions. How many you get for each mission can be previewed looking at the galactic map. When working on an operation at a higher difficulty, each consecutive mission completed will yield an increasingly higher amount of medals. Lastly, personal orders will also reward you with 15 medals upon completion. Just like major orders, you can find your personal orders by opening the galactic map and looking at the order overview on the right hand side. Farming. Now, the best way to accumulate medals is somewhat of a debate amongst players, and what approach you choose will depend on your playstyle. Here are 3 ways to farm medals based on player level and combat difficulty, starting with the most popular method at this time of recording. Method 1. Back-to-back eradicate or defend missions. These missions are pretty straightforward. Spam mortars, kill anything that moves, except for your fellow Helldivers of course, and on average these missions take 5 minutes to run. To that, add loading time after and before the mission and you can churn out about 6 of these in an hour. Hey, editor Stefan here. Now, as I'm editing this video, official word from Arrowhead has come down to state that abandoning an operation before completion will not affect the war effort. This is following a debate around the assumption that just doing eradicate after eradicate mission and thus not completing the operation would negatively impact the liberation counter. However, this turns out not to be the case. As a side note though, neither does it impact it positively. Back to the video. Starting from challenging difficulty level 4 with a mission reward of 3 medals, this equates to about 18 medals per hour. For every difficulty level increase, add 1 medal per mission. So I run these at level 7 suicide, so about 36 medals per hour. Method 2. Completing high difficulty operations. Now, some people will swear that completing high difficulty operations are the best because of their exponential payout. Well, if you have a good coordinated team and if you manage to complete a 3 mission operation at suicide difficulty in 1 hour, probably including a blitz or eradicate mission so you can stay within the 60-minute time limit, this will get you 24 medals. Now that's about 33% less effective than method 1 at best, because a good coordinated team is key here. When you're in a team of people shooting at all patrols, cascade triggering multiple breaches, then you will probably need more than an hour. Method 3. Back-to-back trivial difficulty POI grind. If you're not hellbent on hectic fighting when grinding medals, and apologies for suggesting that Super Earth's enemies should not be eradicated at every opportunity here, please don't report me to the democracy officer, then my suggestion is to do just the trivial missions for POIs, since that way you can combine it with farming super credits, especially if you prefer to play solo. Now, this is an important difference to emphasize here. If you're a solo player, then this method will be easiest and fastest. If you really prefer to play in a team, then you might want to focus on method 1. Also, to reiterate my point from method 2, higher difficulty missions require a good team or they will simply take longer to complete, and the truth is, at some point people simply stop exploring POIs. So that's making your entire medals farm at that point revolve around the end of mission payout. Requisition points are used for upgrading your stratagems. Back in the ship management overview, go over to the stratagem tab. In this list you will find all different stratagems currently available in the game. If we select one, you'll see at the bottom right that there's a certain price attached. Now the price will differ, the more advanced stratagems being more expensive. Just keep in mind that requisition points are capped at 50,000 points. Acquisition. Requisition points are mainly gathered from running missions. At the end of a mission you get a score based on your performance, completing main and optional objectives, how many team members were aboard the shuttle, the amount of enemy hives or factories destroyed, and how much mission time was left. These are all factors contributing to the end total amount of points gained. Secondly, you can find them at points of interest during a mission. Lastly, you can also get a lump sum amount whenever the community completes the major order. You can find the exact payout amount by opening the galactic map and looking at the order overview. Farming. Looking at the fastest way to gather RPs, the best way is to group up with the defend/eradicate mission. They only take, again, 5 minutes to complete, average, and you can do about 6 or 7 of these per hour. The higher difficulty level, the more RPs you'll get. Now this can net you anywhere from 6 to 24,000 per hour or more if you're really pushing it. But do you really need to farm requisition points? Now, I don't think so, because most of your focus for resources will likely be on samples, medals anyways. Super credits, most people will farm those separately, but again, your focus will most likely be on samples and medals during missions, so over time, RPs will accumulate organically. Have I answered any questions you might have had about these resources, or do you have something to add? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to check out my dedicated video on samples as well for a complete guide on those. If you don't want to miss out on any of my future content on Helldivers 2 or other sci-fi games, then hit that subscribe button to get notified if you have that enabled. For now, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.